30,000 years ago, the animal sleeping beside your bed would have been one of the creatures keeping you awake. Picture an Ice Age camp after sunset. A few humans sit close to the fire. Beyond the orange light, something moves between the trees. You cannot see it clearly, but you hear several sets of paws, low growls, and the occasional howl. Those animals are wolves. Fast, coordinated, able to travel enormous distances, and far better equipped for darkness than you are. Today, their descendants wait by doors, guide blind people through traffic, search ruined buildings, detect explosives, herd livestock, and steal food from kitchen counters. No other animal entered human life so deeply. The strange part is that nobody designed this partnership. The first dogs appeared long before breeding records, kennels, or even agriculture. Somehow, a dangerous competitor became the first animal humans domesticated. Exactly where and when that transformation began is still debated. Genetic evidence shows that dogs came from ancient gray wolf populations, but the wolves involved may no longer exist as a distinct group. Recent archaeological and genomic work indicates that recognizable dogs were already spread across Western Eurasia more than 14,000 years ago. The process itself probably started earlier. One leading explanation begins not with humans capturing wolf puppies, but with wolves approaching human camps. Ice Age hunters moved in small groups across huge territories. They followed herds, endured long winters, and survived on food that was never guaranteed. But even skilled hunters produced waste. Bones with tissue still attached, organs people did not eat, damaged hides, and scraps left near camp. To a hungry wolf, the smell of a human settlement meant danger, but it also meant calories. Most wolves would have kept their distance. Animals that rushed the camp aggressively were likely chased away or killed. Wolves that were too fearful gained nothing, but individuals that could tolerate the sight, smell, and noise of humans had access to an unusual food source. They did not need to become friendly overnight. They only needed to remain calm a little closer to the fire than the others. That small difference could change which wolves survived and reproduced. Generation after generation, the least reactive animals may have spent more time near people. Humans, meanwhile, would have become accustomed to the wolves that did not attack. Long before either species understood what was happening, behavior itself may have become a filter. This camp scavenging model remains one plausible explanation rather than a settled account of dog domestication. Scientists have seen how powerful that filter can be. In 1959, geneticist Dmitri Belyaev began a breeding experiment with silver foxes in Siberia. The researchers selected foxes mainly for one trait: how calmly they responded to people. They were not choosing floppy ears, curled tails, or spotted coats. Yet after repeated generations of selection, many foxes began seeking human attention, wagging their tails, licking hands, and making excited sounds when people approached. Some physical traits also became more common, including changes in coat color, ears, tails, and skull shape. The experiment did not recreate dog domestication, but it demonstrated something important. Selecting for temperament can reshape an animal far beyond temperament alone. Ancient wolves living around camps may have followed a slower, messier version of that path. Over time, they would have looked and acted less like the wolves staying deep in the wilderness. They were not yet the dozens of breeds we know today. They were camp-following canids occupying a new space between wild predator and human companion. Humans had reasons to tolerate them. Wolves notice scents and sounds that humans miss. Their reactions could warn a sleeping camp that another predator, an unfamiliar person, or nearby prey was approaching. They could help locate wounded animals or make hunting more efficient. Humans provided food around camp. The canids provided information, vigilance, and eventually cooperation. That exchange may explain why dogs came before sheep, goats, cattle, and farming. Most domesticated animals entered human life after people settled and began controlling land and reproduction. Dogs joined mobile hunter-gatherers. They were already part of the human world before fields, cities, metal tools, or writing existed. Later, when human diets changed, dogs changed again. Farming communities ate more cultivated plants and produced more starch-rich waste. Studies of dog genomes have found adaptations connected to starch digestion, although those changes were probably strengthened after agriculture spread rather than causing the earliest domestication. Dogs were not simply following humans geographically. Their bodies were adjusting to the food humans created. Their minds were adjusting as well. When a dog and its owner look at each other, the interaction can affect oxytocin, a hormone involved in social bonding. Experiments have found a gaze-related feedback loop between dogs and people that was not not observed in the same way with human-raised wolves. A dog staring at your face is not merely waiting for a snack. Domestication altered how two different species communicate emotionally. Even the famous puppy eyes have an anatomical story. Researchers comparing dogs and wolves found that dogs generally possess a facial muscle that raises the inner eyebrow more strongly. The movement makes the eyes appear larger and the face more infant-like. Humans may have responded more warmly to expressive animals, giving those dogs an advantage without consciously deciding to breed for a particular muscle. But the partnership did not improve everything. Once humans began deliberately creating breeds for appearance or specialized tasks, selection could become extreme. Flat-faced dogs may struggle to breathe. Long-backed dogs are vulnerable to spinal disease. Some bulldogs have difficulty reproducing without medical help. The animal that adapted so successfully to human life also became dependent on human choices, including bad ones. Still, the wolf has never completely disappeared. Dogs circle before lying down, guard valued objects, bury food, howl at distant sounds, and run in their sleep as if chasing something across open ground. The behavior varies by dog, but the ancestry remains. Inside a tiny companion animal is a body plan inherited from a social predator. What changed most was not the disappearance of the wolf. It was where that wolf chose to stand. Cats settled near our food stores. Horses carried us. Cattle fed us. Dogs did something different. They entered the human group. They watched the edge of camp while people slept. They moved with families across ice, forest, desert, and eventually every inhabited continent. Over thousands of years, usefulness became familiarity, and familiarity became attachment. A grave found at Bonn-Oberkassel in Germany shows how deep that attachment had become by about 14,000 years ago. A young dog was buried alongside a man and a woman. Examination of its teeth suggests it survived several episodes of serious illness while still a puppy. An animal that's sick would probably have needed sustained care. People facing the hardships of the late Ice Age appear to have spent food, time, and effort keeping it alive. At that point, the dog was more than an alarm, hunting aid, or cleaner of scraps. It was an individual worth caring for even when it could offer little in return. The friendship between humans and dogs did not begin with a command. It began with distance, a wolf watching a fire, a human watching the wolf, and neither one leaving. The calmer animals moved closer. The humans allowed some of them to stay. Natural selection, later joined by human selection, kept changing both the relationship and the animals inside it. Tens of thousands of years later, a dog may fall asleep a few steps from you, completely safe inside a human home. It does not know that its ancestors once waited beyond the firelight. It does not know that fear slowly became tolerance, cooperation, and finally trust. But every time a dog chooses to sleep beside a human, that ancient decision happens again.